Next guest is the top Democrat on the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, an interim report of a bipartisan investigation into Chinese fast fashion brands Shein and Temu, raising questions about potential forced labor and the skirting of U.S. import taxes. Joining us now to talk about this, as well as possible new restrictions on U.S. chip sales to China, is Illinois Representative Raja Krishnamurti. And it's good to see you, Congressman. And I don't think the two sides don't need to argue. It's like I worry about China. It's a daunting future that we face as a country, but at least Democrats and Republicans can approach it together, and we can try to deal with this united as a country.
That's right, Joe. I think that this is one of those challenges that's so complex, and that's perhaps one of the biggest challenges we've ever faced as a country, that the only way that we can tackle it effectively is to do so on a bipartisan basis. So I'm really glad that Chairman Mike Gallagher, who's a great guy, except he's a Green Bay Packers fan, Joe. I'm a Bears fan. Aside from that, we're trying to work together.
I'm a big fan of Congressman Gallagher, too. What a future that guy, and what a past that guy has. But it's good, and it is a daunting, as I said, it's a daunting thing to try to, these are small issues that you're talking about now. All I worry about is how important China is to so many big companies here in the United States. And if something with Taiwan happens, we're going to have a replay of what happened in Russia. And I don't know whether that means we need to preemptively start doing things, because we're not enemies with the Chinese people. It's the CCP. So it's such a hard road to navigate, Congressman.
It really is. And you're absolutely right that if something were to happen with Taiwan, it would tank our economy, the global economy, to be sure. 50% of container traffic in the world traverses the Taiwan Strait every single day, and 70% of all semiconductors are manufactured in Taiwan. So what I believe, and Mike and I both believe, we have to do is deter aggression, deter conflict. And so we've put in place some bipartisan recommendations to do just that. And we're hopeful that it translates into legislation that the Congress adopts.
Well, that's the that's the thing. There's a way of preparing for what we think is inevitable with Taiwan, or there's things we can do maybe to make it really unattractive for China to actually go forward with that. Do you think there's things we can actually do that would preclude that from ever happening, Congressman?
Yes, 100%. Just a couple things that we are recommending, among others, is, the Taiwanese have purchased numerous armaments, weapons from the United States that have yet to be delivered to them, in part because there are problems with our military industrial base and supply chains. And so we have to figure out how to fix those so we can both equip the Taiwanese as well as keep our homeland safe and, provide arms to the Ukrainians who are, as you know, fighting valiantly. The second thing that we have to do is to strengthen our partnerships and alliances in the Indo-Pacific region, which the Biden administration has been doing capably. And I think that also has a deterrent effect with regard to the Chinese Communist Party.
Congressman, when it comes to Shein and Temu, for Americans, that means, $8 swimsuits and other cheap sort of goods. But you're finding that they're using a loophole, the de minimis rule, to avoid giving information that otherwise would be given about things like, where it's manufactured, how it's manufactured. How do you close the loop here?
You bring up some good points. Temu and Shein, as you know, are some of the fastest growing companies in the world. And in particular, they use something called the de minimis exception, which means that for goods that are valued less than, or shipments valued less than $800, that they are able to ship directly from China to people's homes, they are not subject to duties, and there is much less information about their place of origin. Under our American law, we are not allowed to import any goods from Xinjiang region of China, which is where there's a genocide of the Uyghurs happening and where there's massive forced labor. And so what we found, especially with regard to Temu, is A, they don't even explicitly prohibit products from Xinjiang. And then B, it turns out they have zero compliance mechanisms to make sure that any of their goods are coming from Xinjiang. And so we want to address both of these concerns, as well as alert consumers, because I think consumers don't, all things being equal, want to purchase goods that are contaminated by slave labor or forced labor.
I mean, it is, that's the, I won't call it the tip of the iceberg, but I wonder how much we really know about a lot of other companies and what's happening in China. And you know, on the one hand, we should have zero tolerance, but on the other hand, it's the real world. And, you know, we get a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia, and I mean, you can take your country, you know, take your pick of countries that we might do business with where it's not perfect. And maybe we're not perfect either, Congressman, and they would, I think, say that, but we try. We seem to try a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not going to achieve all of our ideals in America, but we try. And we try our best to shine a light on issues and try to provide as much information to the buying public. That being said, I also think that we have to work with our partners and allies and friends to put in legislation similar to ours for us to globally deal with problems such as the Uyghur genocide, which is astonishing to even say exists in 2023.